I do think that the Celtics are mentally fragile.
These people who are saying, oh, well, you know what? We reevaluated and determined that it was safe for our student. Bullshit.
Well, yeah, no shit, Koenig. They're not going to score 43 points a week. Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of the Slightly Sideways podcast, episode 10. I'm your host, Koenig, joined as always by my good friend and co-host, Corbin. Say hello to the people, Corbin.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on our 10th episode. We have hit double digits for Slightly Sideways, the big Roman numeral X. So very exciting for us here on our end. We're so pleased that you guys enjoy this show enough to have us do this for you. Here on the show, we do like to have a few drinks here while we give you our opinions and the sports news for the week. Here on my end, I am going with an American classic, a cheapie but a goodie, Pabst Blue Ribbon out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Koenig, what do you have on tap over on your end?
Gotta love the Pabst Blue Ribbon. On my end, I'm going with something a little bit different. I'm going to go with something extra special for our 10th episode. Out of Fremont Brewing in Seattle, Washington, I'm going with the Fremont Golden Pilsner. And I know what you're thinking. If you're sitting there at home saying, Koenig, I've never heard of or even tried Fremont Golden Pilsner before, I wonder what you think of that beer. Well, I've got some good news for you, because if you stay tuned to the end of the show, we will be giving our official review of the drinks that we had during tonight's program out of 5 stars. If you're interested in what we think about what we're having over here, stay tuned to the end of the show and we'll tell you exactly what we think.
So as you can tell from Koenig's selections over the past few weeks, if you don't live in Seattle, you're never going to try those beers. So he can at least still give you his rating. So if you happen to be in the area, you could pick them up.
There you go. Before we introduce tonight's topics, if you aren't already, give us a follow on old twitter.com at Slightly Sideway. If you're on Facebook, you can follow our fan page at Slightly Sideways Podcast. If you have any feedback or ideas for future segments of the program, you can email those ideas to slightlysidewayspod@gmail.com. If you're listening to us on Spotify, do be sure to follow our channel at Slightly Sideways Podcast. And if you're on YouTube, you can find our channel at Slightly Sideways Podcast. All of our shows have finally been uploaded to the channel, so any of the shows you may have missed, you can catch up on that right at YouTube. Do be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single new episode that comes to the channel. On tonight's show, we have the NBA Conference Finals update. We have a brief recap of Sheffield United's second match in the Premier League. We have an update on the Stanley Cup Finals. What else do we have for our listeners tonight, Corbin?
We also have a recap of NFL Week 2, as well as some big news coming out of the last Power 5 conference in college football that had a big announcement, not to mention the Group of 5 conference, so you want to stay tuned for that. And everybody's favorite at the end of the show, the unknown. This week, Koenig is in control of the unknown, so we'll see what his sick mind will come up with. I'm hopeful that since he did so well last week that he'll throw me a bone and give me a decent chance this week, but you never know with the unknown. You'll have to stick around to see how that comes out. We'll go ahead and jump right in with the NBA Conference Finals. So 4 teams left vying for that championship. Today there was a game between the Celtics and the Heat, Game 5. The Heat previously were up 3-1 in that series, and the Celtics rather handedly took care of the Heat tonight, 121-108. That game really was never in doubt as far as when the second half picked up. The Celtics kind of controlled that game. What we wanted to do was kind of go over game by game, kind of give you a score update and how the series shaped out. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, the Heat had won that game in overtime, 117-114. So just a slight 3-point victory over the Celtics. Again, in overtime, that could have gone either way. Game 2, also a close game, 106-101 in favor of the Heat. The Heat take a 2-0 series in that lead. Game 3, really do or die for the Celtics. You can't really afford to go down 3-0 in any series. But the Celtics handily took care of the Heat in that game, 117-106. Game 4 was a bit of an oddball. There was an unlikely hero, no pun intended, with Tyler Hero for the Miami Heat. a rookie out of Kentucky who had dropped 37 points coming off the bench for them. The Heat found a way to win that game by 3 points, 112 to 109. And like I mentioned, game 5 was tonight where the Celtics took care of business. Again, that score 121 108. Right now, that series is 3-2 in favor of the Heat. So obviously, for people at home who don't know how to do math, the Heat have to win one of the next 2 games, and the Celtics have to win both of these next games in order to make the finals. Koenig, what is your impression so far of this series? Give the people your thoughts.
It's been an interesting series because the Celtics have, in my eyes, been so much in control of these games. And even tonight's game, 121 to 108, really the turning point tonight. The Celtics outscored the Miami Heat by 16 points in the third quarter to kind of really put a stranglehold on tonight's game and really kind of salt it away in the third quarter. But I was looking up a stat on Twitter before the start of game 5 tonight, and it was so surprising to me given the fact that Miami had a 3-1 series lead going into the game. The Celtics going into game 5 had a lead in the series for 75% of the game. Not just tied, they've had the lead. So the Celtics have, in my eyes, been in control of the games for the most part. Their biggest problem to this point has been their ability to close out games. It seems like they have the lead and then they just kind of let Miami hang around, and they can't really just put them away. And credit to Miami and Tyler Herro. I mean, they're making some big plays down the stretch to win those games. I'm not going to discredit Miami at all, but the Celtics have been unable to finish the deal. But what I would say is the games that Miami has won, like Corbin said, you had the one game that went to overtime, and then you had a couple additional victories for Miami that they won by just a couple points, 3 points here, 5 points there. And meanwhile, the Celtics' victories are a lot more lopsided than that. Lopsided in the sense that they're double-digit wins, but they're wins nonetheless. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the series plays out. I don't necessarily think that the Celtics are done. Obviously, coming back to beat the same team 3 consecutive games is never easy. But I think they have shown that despite the way the series has played out, being down, they have shown that they are still a better team, I think.
I do think the statistic of the Celtics having the lead for 75% of those games, as far as up to game 4, is interesting. I do believe it is a little misleading. The reason being, the Celtics could have had a 1-point lead for 4 or 5 minutes. That's not to say that they were crushing the Heat and they were dominating the Heat. Like, yes, they had a lead, but when you say that stat, it makes it seem like, oh man, the Celtics were just dominating for these games and just crushing the Heat. And then all of a sudden the Heat came back. And I don't really think that's been the story of the series. Yes, there's been some exceptions in some of the games where the Celtics have won handily. But I think the NBA especially is that sport where, I mean, you could be down by 20 points in the third quarter and it doesn't matter. I feel like players only play tough until the fourth quarter rolls around. And you can disagree with me if you want. And I know it's the playoffs and people are going to argue like, oh, these guys are playing tough all the time. But again, you see time and time again these heavy leads in the first, second, third quarter that are just evaporated by the time the fourth quarter rolls around. Case in point, we'll get to this here in a moment, but game 3 of the Lakers and the Nuggets game, the Nuggets were up at one point by over 20 points going into the fourth quarter. And I think with like 2 minutes left in the game, it was a 3-point game. So I think that statistic is a little misleading. Yes, it's a true statistic, but again, I don't think it's a true reflection of the Celtics dominating the Heat, if you will.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. And I do think that the Celtics do have the more talent. I think if you look at the just raw talent and raw ability, I do think the Celtics have the better players. But so far in this series, I feel like Miami has just outgritted the Celtics a little bit. They've kind of just out-hustled, and they seem to be getting the majority of second chance points, and they're getting to most of the loose balls and everything like that. And when you don't have as many superstars, I don't want to say the Celtics have a bunch of superstars, but I do think they have the more talented players. And when you're at a disadvantage from a talent perspective, you have to make it up in attitude and effort, like Steve Fisher used to always say. And credit to Miami, I think that they do have the right mentality. I think that they are playing a very physical series. I think they're playing with a lot of grit and a lot of hustle. And so I tip my hat to those guys because they do deserve to be ahead so far.
Who the hell is Steve Fisher?
I'll kill you. For those of you that don't know, Steve Fisher was the head coach of the Michigan Fab Five the year that they won their national championship. He also took over the program at San Diego State University, revolutionized the basketball program back where I went to grad school, go Aztecs, really built that program from the ashes out of nothing and built them into a program that has been very successful. Obviously, they had probably their most successful season ever this last year. Unfortunately, they didn't have a chance to play in an NCAA tournament. But there you go, Dems to facts.
But to get back to the Celtics and the Heat, like Koenig had mentioned, as far as the Heat being a grittier team, I think that's been the difference. Yes, the Celtics have the better talent, and when that talent is clicking, you see these outcomes where the Celtics are winning these games handily, like they did in Game 3 and tonight in Game 5. But there are those games, like Games 1, 2, and 4, where they'll play really well for however long, and then they'll kind of have lapses. And in situations like that, I'll take the grittier team to come out with the outcome, because inconsistency, especially in basketball, is a recipe for disaster. So still a lot to be played in this series. I mean, I think the series is going to go 7, especially after tonight with the Celtics taking care of the Heat rather easily, in my opinion. So I still think the Celtics are well in it if they can play well enough like they did tonight. If they don't, then be not surprised if you see the Miami Heat in the finals.
So that's where we're standing right now with the Eastern Conference. Corbin, the Western Conference, maybe not so close as it is in the East. What's going on so far in the Los Angeles Lakers and Denver Nuggets series?
Yeah, so as far as the Lakers and the Nuggets series, right now the Lakers have a 3-1 series lead, best of 7. So the Lakers are 1 win away for getting to the NBA Finals, and the Nuggets need to win 3 in a row. Now, this is not uncharted territory for the Nuggets. Their first 2 series, they were down 3-1, where they came back in both of those and won, albeit they were not coming back against a team like the quality of the Lakers. We'll get to that in just a moment, but I just want to give you a brief rundown on how the games have shaped out so far. Game 1, the Lakers took care of business, 126-114. Even that wasn't as close as that game was. That game was pretty much over at halftime. The Lakers really just worked the Nuggets. Kind of made you think, oh no, are we looking at a sweep here for the Lakers over the Nuggets? Game 2 was a heartbreaker, a game that the Nuggets were up by 1 point with less than, I think, 10 or 5 seconds left in the game. Anthony Davis hits a three-pointer that hit zero part of the net, just swished it straight through with no time left. Lakers take a 2-point victory there. Crushing defeat for the Nuggets. It's always tough to lose like that. Again, you're kind of wondering, man, they get blown out in Game 1. They lose a heartbreaker in Game 2. How can they possibly come back to get back into the series? The Nuggets do come back in Game 3, and they had quite a sizable lead. But again, like I mentioned previously, they had a 20-point lead going into the fourth quarter, which was down to 3 points in the last 2 minutes. Jamal Murray took over and built that lead back up, and the Nuggets were able to win that game 114-106. And then Game 4 was a 114-108 victory to the Lakers. There was some foul trouble for Nikola Jokic for the Denver Nuggets, one of their superstars. Jamal Murray, who is really their only go-to scoring threat when Jokic isn't on the floor, got shut down by LeBron James in the last 8 minutes or so. LeBron James switched over on Murray, shut him down. Again, the Lakers take care of business. They're up 3-1. Koenig, any surprise here? Any hope for the Nuggets going forward?
I really feel like counting out a team like the Nuggets, who have proven that they can come back from a deficit of 3-1, not once but twice already, is probably not a great idea. But I do think that the situation is different. I do think that you can't really compare the Lakers to the teams they beat in the first couple rounds. I think that this is such a bad mismatch for Denver because they don't nearly have as many weapons as the Lakers do. And in the postseason, especially when you're this close to the finals, you need your best players to be your best players. And that's, I think, where the Lakers really shine. Coming off of a game in Game 4 where LeBron James and Anthony Davis combined for 60 points in that game. And that's just goes to show you your superstars are carrying you. And that's what you need in the playoffs.
I have some faint hope for the Nuggets because, again, they've done it twice this playoffs already, albeit against lesser opponents in the eyes of many. Jamal Murray can shoot the lights out when he's hot. I mean, it's kind of hard to count them out, but I really think the Lakers found the Nuggets' kryptonite within Jamal Murray when they switched LeBron James over on him and shut him down. Be not surprised if Jamal Murray's rolling in game 5 and the Lakers need an answer to see LeBron guarding him. I just think the Lakers' best two, LeBron and Anthony Davis, are better than the Nuggets' best two, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. It's a tall, tall order to win 3 games in a row, especially against a LeBron James led team. I could maybe see the Nuggets taking game 5, just kind of a last fight, if you will, to kind of give them one last punch back. But I just don't see how the Nuggets can win 3 in a row against this Laker team. I just don't think it's going to be in the cards.
Out of the 4 teams that are remaining, if you're thinking about looking ahead to a NBA Finals preview, obviously it just feels like the Lakers are a favorite. But in terms of the Eastern Conference, I honestly think the Celtics are the better matchup in terms of what would make for a more intriguing NBA Finals. And maybe that's biased because I'm a Boston sports fan. But you have the history there also. You know, the Celtics have obviously a very well written history in terms of their championships, as do the Lakers, and a huge rivalry dating back decades between these two teams. And I just think that in terms of just raw talent, I think the Lakers Celtics matchup is a little bit more interesting than maybe a Lakers Miami Heat matchup. But I do think that the Lakers are just kind of a juggernaut this year. I really don't see anybody, regardless of who they play, I don't think anybody's going to stop them.
I actually think the Celtics are still going to be able to come back and win that series against the Heat. So I think they are going to win 2 in a row. I think it's going to be a Lakers Celtics final. I think the Celtics can maybe win a game or two, but the Lakers are just, unless injuries happen, which I would hate for that to happen because you never want to see injuries dictate a championship. But as it sits right now, if I had to go put money down, I would say Lakers Celtics, and the Lakers are going to be the champions in 6, 4 games to 2.
All right, so that is all we have for you for the NBA. Stay tuned for next week's episode. I'm sure we'll have some coverage of the NBA Finals as that series unfolds. We're doing a quickly transition into the Sheffield United English Premier League update.
Everybody's favorite topic, Sheffield United.
And we didn't want to go too much deep into the weeds on this, but we did want to give a breakdown of what happened in the second game of the English Premier League season. Sheffield United are playing Aston Villa. Corbin, what are your first thoughts right off the bat on that game?
So a tough match. In Premier League soccer, you play 2 45-minute halves with some stoppage time on the end of them. The clock runs continuously until the halftime and then also till the end of the game when it resumes back up. In soccer, or football, whatever you want to call it, there are fouls in soccer and football. Depending on the severity of a foul, you could get a yellow card, which is essentially like a final warning, if you will. If you get 2 yellow cards, that equals a red card, which automatically results in a disqualification, and your team has to play a man down. Sheffield had a foul that didn't even result in a yellow card. It went right to a red card in the 12th minute. So the 12th minute being 12 minutes into the game. So they played 78 minutes of their game with 1 less player than Aston Villa did. So essentially they're playing the entire game on the power play, if you will. But unlike hockey, where you're only in the box for 2 minutes at a time, it's the entire game. So you're at a huge disadvantage. For the most part, they played decently well. You kind of have to drop players back from attack to defend because you are a man down, so there's not a lot of scoring chances. Unfortunately, they gave up a goal to go down 1-0 or 1-0, as they say in England. That was the final score of the game, 1-0. Sucks that they had lost. They got 0 points out of it, but considering that they were a man down for the entire match, essentially, not the worst results. Koenig, what do you think?
Yeah, going into the game is kind of a situation where we wanted a result meaning just to get anything out of it, whether it was a draw or a win. So obviously not the situation you want to not get any points out of the game. Villa being a team that barely survived relegation last season. So for Sheffield's point of view, they go into that game hoping, like I said before, for at least a tie. at least a draw. And once you have one of Sheffield's players get sent off 12 minutes into the game, you could really tell that the strategy changed from there. It was really transformed from let's just try to go out and win this game to we're going to just drop everybody back and defend and hope we can just not allow any goals. That's really what the mentality was at that point. And surprisingly, Sheffield had an opportunity. They had a counterattack early in the first half and got fouled in the box, which led to a penalty kick anytime you foul somebody inside of the box. So Sheffield had an opportunity to score a goal. Unfortunately, keeper for Villa made a really, really nice save. And that was probably the last opportunity that Sheffield had. So frustrating because the first two games of the season, you had a really unfortunate 6 minutes against Wolves, and then you got a red card in your second game right at the start. So I'll be interested to see what happens this weekend. We do have a game at 4 a.m. here on the West Coast.
Yeah, you heard that correct, folks. 4 a.m. local time on Sunday. So Koenig and I will be waking up starting our Sunday at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, it'll be... I might not even go to bed on Saturday.
I might just say fuck it and stay up, and why not? Fuck it, go for it.
But I'll be interested to see. I'll be interested to see just really quickly how, and I'm hopeful that Sheffield can put together a full 90 minutes because, yes, they haven't won a game out of the first two so far. But to be honest, I don't think that they've played a complete 90 minutes, and they haven't played it at full strength either. So hopefully this is a game with Leeds, who just gotten promoted from the lower division this season. Hopefully this is a game where we can get a result.
And just one last thing. I know you people are itching to get away from the soccer, but I have the microphone and you don't. So you will listen to every damn word I have to say. Took that out of The Wedding Singer, by the way. But there's 38 games in the season. We lost our first two. Still a ton of season left to go. Again, we'll keep you updated. We understand that people out there don't like soccer, so we're trying to keep it as brief as we can. But you know what? We like it, so to hell with you. All right, so moving right along, we're going to go ahead and go into the Stanley Cup Finals. So everybody seems to forget about the NHL, especially ESPN.com. I was telling Koenig before the show, you go to ESPN.com and in the top bar, they have all the big sports, right? They got the NFL, they got the NBA, they got the Major League Baseball tab. They even got a soccer tab, if you can believe that. They have freaking MMA and then college football. College football is the shit, but no NHL. They're literally in the Stanley Cup Finals, and they don't even have an NHL drop-down bar as far as their premier sports on ESPN.com, which is just absolutely insulting if you ask me. But Koenig, as far as the Stanley Cup Series, we've got the Tampa Bay Lightning, we've got the Dallas Stars. Where are we at? What's your opinion?
Tampa Bay just finished off in game 4, 5-4 in overtime over the Dallas Stars. They have taken a 3-1 series advantage, and just being completely transparent and honest about it, it's pretty much curtains for the Dallas Stars. The Lightning have cruised through this series. I mean, you take away game 1, Dallas played very well in game 1, and they won that game 4-1. Since then, it's been all Tampa Bay all the time, led by guys like Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, Victor Hedman. You got some really good goaltending from Andrei Vasilevsky. Maybe not tonight, but in some of the previous games, he's been doing very well in terms of his save percentage. I just feel like Tampa has so many more ways to win than Dallas does. I feel like Dallas just really wants to outscore you. And I feel like maybe even on a night where Tampa's impact players aren't playing particularly well, I do think that they have a good enough goaltender that can keep them alive and keep them in the game. And at this point in the postseason, you're talking about the Stanley Cup Finals. I do always like to give the edge to the team with better goaltending. And to me, I do feel like Vasilevsky is the better goaltender between him and Anton Khudobin of the Dallas Stars. But Corbin, 4 games into the series, what are your thoughts on the Stanley Cup Finals?
It's over, Rock. I would be shocked beyond all belief if Tampa Bay were to lose 3 in a row. They're just too good of a team. And you know what? This is finally the Lightning are putting it together. This is a team for the last decade, it seems like, that always finish the top of the Eastern Conference. Everybody's always on their jock saying how great they are and they're going to run train in the playoffs. And they're usually a team that gets bounced in the first round or two. So to finally see them putting it together. It's clear to see that they're the better team. Like you mentioned, Koenig, they've got better goaltending, they've got better defense, they've got better scoring than the Stars do. Like you mentioned, the Stars' whole mentality is let's try to outscore our opponent and hope that our keeper can keep us in the game. That's not happening. The Stars have lost 3 in a row, which is not a good recipe for success. I don't see how they can just flip the switch and win 3 in a row after losing 3 straight. I think Tampa Bay is smelling the blood in the water. They're circling. I would be amazed if this game even got to 6 games. I think the series is going to be over come game 5. I hope I'm wrong just because I want to see the series go a little deeper. I want to see Tampa Bay just blow the Stars out of the water and just have this NHL season be over so quickly. But Tampa Bay is the better team for sure. And we'll see. This team has been known to choke in the past. I don't see it here. I think they finally got it together. It's weird seeing a team from Florida win the Stanley Cup. They've done it before with former Coyotes goaltender Nikolai Habibulin. So I'm hoping the Stars can get one back just to make it a series, but I think they're screwed.
Yeah, and Game 4 was such a pivotal game, and that game goes to overtime, like I said before, and if you're a Dallas Stars fan, you just hoping for anything to just bounce your way, to just give you life, right? Because 2-2 is obviously a whole lot more uplifting than 3-1. And that just goes to show you how quickly, on a dime, a whole situation can change in the Stanley Cup playoffs, especially in a situation like overtime, where the game can end at any second. No one knows when it's going to end. And before you know it, instead of being right back in the series, you're pretty much donezo, as they say.
Yeah, and here's a game 4 tonight where it's 4-4 going into overtime. So you're the Stars saying to yourself, damn, we've scored 4 goals in this game and we still haven't won this game. We're going into overtime and this is a must win and you still can't find a way. You end up losing. It's just backbreaking. Those are just demoralizing losses. You have to think that the mentality in the locker room for the Stars is they're dusting off the old golf clubs, getting ready to hit the links.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but we'll wrap up the Stanley Cup Finals on next week's show. We'll wrap up the hockey season. That'll be the end of hockey for a while from us after next week's show. But stay tuned to the program. We'll kind of let you know what happens. Maybe the Stars make a miraculous comeback. We've seen crazier things happen in the NHL playoffs. So stick right here for all of your updates. We do want to transition into the National Football League.
Everybody's favorite topic, football!
We all love our football, that's for sure. Week 2 has wrapped up, and we are actually into Week 3. But before we get into that, we do want to talk about the second week of the football season. Corbin, any thoughts, any surprises out of Week 2? Have there been any teams that maybe are playing a lot better than you maybe thought?
Yes, one team in particular, a local team from where I am, the Arizona Cardinals. They are 2-0. If you look at their upcoming schedule, they very well could be 5-0 here in a few weeks. They're playing in arguably the best division in football in the NFC West, where there are 3 teams that are 2-0 and the San Francisco 49ers, who are the former NFC champions. Cardinals are playing well. Kyler Murray, their young quarterback, playing very, very good for them. He can sling it. He can run it. He can do just about everything for them. Some surprises out there. There are teams like the Chicago Bears that are 2-0 that I just can't, for the life of me, figure out how they're 2-0, especially with the quarterback like Mitchell Trubisky at the helm. It's a team that should have probably lost week 1 to the Lions. It's a team, the Lions had a huge lead on them. The Bears came back. And then the Lions even had a chance at the end. They dropped the touchdown pass to lose that game. Yeah, the Bears beat the Giants. Whoop-de-doo. The Giants are pretty terrible. Saquon Barkley goes out with a knee injury. He's out for the entire rest of the year for the Giants. Brutal. I had kind of forecasted that unintentionally in our predictions episode when I said that I did not trust a team like the Giants whose best player is a running back because if he gets hurt, then they have nothing. Well, shit. Week 2, what happens? Saquon Barkley goes down with a season-ending injury. The Giants are fucked. I mean, they kind of were already because, let's face it, they're the Giants. But there was kind of some teams and some news that's kind of jumped off the page to me. Koenig, anything on your end that's out of the ordinary or things that are going to plan that you thought would?
The big surprise for me out of week 2 was Monday Night Football. You had the Las Vegas Raiders with a 10-point victory over the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans
Yes.
Saints, who I predicted to be the NFC champion this year. So, and Corbin, I know you're not very high on Derek Carr, but to his credit, he goes 28 completions out of 38 attempts, 284 yards, and 3 touchdowns on Monday Night Football. He looks pretty dang good playing against a decent New Orleans defense. Who knows? Maybe that's a flash in the bottle. I think it's still a little bit too early to say what the Raiders are, but they are 2-0 and they beat a very, very good team. And I'll also add to that by saying I did watch Sunday Night Football. Obviously, I'm a big Patriot fan. The Seahawks, they look very good. And, maybe beating the Patriots isn't like a huge thing, but Russell Wilson, man, we've said this on previous episodes. The guy has never gotten an MVP vote, not one. And I'll be goddamned if he doesn't get one this year because Russell Wilson looks really good. Sunday Night Football, he has 300 yards. He throws for 5 touchdowns against a pretty good Patriots defense. I think there's a couple really big problems, especially at linebacker, but he made a couple really big throws against last year's Defensive Player of the Year and Stephon Gilmore, and Russell Wilson just continues to make a name for himself. One thing that I did note during the Patriots-Seahawks game, as a Patriot fan, and maybe some people might find this interesting and maybe you won't, but I'll tell you it anyway. I'm talking about Cam Newton and Julian Edelman, and I got this stat out of Sports Talk Radio on Monday morning. Julian Edelman had the most receiving yards during week 2 in his second game with Cam Newton than he had in any game playing with Tom Brady.
Wow.
Which is kind of crazy. So, like I said, it's only week 2. It's still pretty early. I do want to cover briefly what I thought to be the most obscure game of the week. And I want to highlight for you Atlanta Falcons and Dallas Cowboys game.
Oh, man, what a disaster. If you're a Falcons fan, Dan Quinn has got to go. I don't mean to interrupt you, Koenig, but my mind is blown, but carry on.
Yeah, Dan Quinn. Yeah, I don't know how you're still employed, buddy, but Atlanta, the Falcons are up 20-0 after the first quarter. They even have a 15-point lead with 8 minutes to go in the game. You have the Cowboys then scoring a touchdown. They force a punt, and then the Cowboys go 9 plays, 78 yards in 1 minute and 8 seconds. But hold on, there's more. The Falcons still have the lead in this game. So with under 2 minutes to play, the Cowboys need an onside kick recovery to win the game. And this is where, if this was like Pac-12 after dark, this is where this segment should be. Greg Zuerlein lines up to kick the onside kick. He has no tee. He kicks the ball. It looks like it would be lucky to go 5 yards. And you have 3 Falcons players just kind of dancing around the ball. And me as a just totally neutral fan, I'm like yelling at them like, pick up the ball, pick up the ball, pick up the ball. And there's just 3 bozos just like dancing around it. And I'm like, what are they doing? And lo and fucking behold, the ball goes 10 yards and the Cowboys fall right on top of it. And of course, they drive down the field. They get their 46-yard field goal as time expires. And somehow Atlanta finds a way to lose that game. I just couldn't believe it.
It's almost going back to the onside kick, like you mentioned. It was a very unorthodox kick. The kicker, he put so much English on this ball where it's moving maybe like 1 mile an hour, and it is spinning and rotating like a top, just spinning like crazy. And it's slowly kind of working its way down the field. It's going 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards. But like Koenig mentioned, this ball is barely moving, and there's 3 Falcons players, pretty much like a Bermuda Triangle, all around this football, looking at it like they're mesmerized by it. I don't know if these players thought, we need to let this ball go 10 yards before we can touch it. No, dumbasses. The Cowboys need to wait for that ball to go 10 yards before they can touch it. You can jump on that shit right now and boom,
It's over.
Game over.
Yeah.
So these goons are just staring at this football, and it was like the ball was kicked in slow motion. I mean, shit, dude, the ball boy could have come in and jumped on that thing. Like, it was moving so slow that like anybody and their grandmother could have stopped this thing. And I remember I didn't see it in real time, but I saw the replay and was just like, jump on the football, jump on the football, jump on the, what the? It's just like,
Yeah.
oh my God. Like, that's the kind of play where it's like, okay, special teams coach, I'm sorry, but like your players don't even know when they cannot jump on a ball. Like you're fired, Dan Quinn. You've been an absolute disaster ever since you lost the Super Bowl to the Patriots. You're fired. God, it pissed me off because you had texted me at halftime because the Falcons were trouncing the Cowboys, and
Yeah.
it was in Dallas too, which was
Yeah.
even better. It was
In
like,
front of
oh
their
man, the
fans.
Falcons,
Yeah.
yeah, in front of their like, and there's still like 30,000 fans there, fucking Texas. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, he texted me saying, "Oh, the Falcons are shitting on the Cowboys," and let's face it, if you're not a Cowboys fan, you hate them. There's no in between. That's just the way it is. So I remember he told me that, and I was like, "Oh, great, wonderful." And I checked back on the score and was like, "Okay, the Cowboys are kind of hanging around." And then I was like, "Okay, well, at the end of the game, the Falcons still have a lead. All they have to do is just recover an onside kick." Couldn't even do that. Just, oh my God. Kudos to the Cowboys for not giving up. And shit, man, they did everything that they needed to do to win that game, especially playing so terrible as they did for the first half. So credit to them. But my God, the Falcons, like,
It,
Jesus.
it's like what Corbin said. Since they lost that 28-3 lead in the third quarter of the Super Bowl, they've just continuously found ways to lose football games. It just kind of blows your mind, and especially a situation like this where they're so much in control of the game. And Corbin and I were like joking about it, like, "Oh, look at the Cowboys just getting just totally shit on." And maybe stupid me for thinking the Falcons would have finished off a 20-point lead at the end of the first quarter. But yeah, so Atlanta fans, sorry for that, but yeah, that's a yikes. The one thing, just really quickly before we go into this next segment, in terms of disappointments this year, I do want to highlight the Vikings specifically.
Oh my
The
goodness.
Minnesota
Yes.
Vikings, what is going on in Minnesota? This was a team going into the season that I think both of us really expected to contend in the NFC North with the Green Bay Packers, and they're now 0-2. They're coming off a week 2 contest against the Indianapolis Colts where they managed to score 11 points against the Colts. And no disrespect
They,
to the Colts, right? But they're kind of a meh defense. They don't have anybody that's going to like blow you away. Kirk Cousins throws for only 113 yards and he throws 3 interceptions in that game. Dude, I think the huge issue in Minnesota is, okay, you got Adam Thielen, who else? And I think other teams are starting to figure that out.
I thought they would be okay without Stephon Diggs. I mean, Stephon Diggs is a great receiver, no doubt. I think Thielen's a stud. They drafted the kid from LSU, Jefferson, at wide receiver, who was also a stud in college. So I thought they would have the weapons needed to still be successful, especially with Dalvin Cook as your running back. But their defense kind of fell flat in their face week one against the Packers, where they gave up 43 points. But like you mentioned, this is a team that a lot of people, myself included, I went out on a limb and said that they were my Super Bowl prediction for the NFC this year, which, albeit I was just trying not to pick the Saints because you picked them, but I still had a really high hopes for the Vikings so far. Now, who knows? I mean, it's week 2. They got 14 games still left to play. They could maybe get it together, but man, so far they have not looked good. All right, so go ahead and move away from the NFL here. So we'll have more coverage as far as NFL Week 3. Maybe we'll see the Vikings play better. I'm sure we'll see the Falcons continue to blow up and be a disaster. But there was some big news that came out of college football this past week, particularly with the last Power 5 conference that had not yet announced that they were going to play football during the fall, the Pac-12 conference. They come out and they say that they are going to have a 7-game season that starts on November 6th. That will be 5 conference games within their divisions. There's a North and South division, and then 2 games outside, which would be against the opposing division. The Mountain West also came out as far as probably the best Group 5 conference in college football, came out and said that they too will also have a fall football season. Their season is going to start on October 24th, so a couple weeks before the Pac-12 will start. Koenig, is this surprising to you? Did you think this was going to kind of come with the Big Ten making their decision a week ago?
Yeah, it's not surprising at all. Once the Big Ten, who was kind of the whistleblower for this whole thing, and they kind of like set the tone for what was going to happen this season, once they flip-flopped, I knew right away. I was like, despite all of the issues that are going on at state and local government, despite everything else that's going on, The Pac-12 is going to find a way. The Mountain West is going to find a way. You're talking about these, it seems like these two like little sheep that are just following what the Big Ten are doing. It's like the Big Ten opts out, and then the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, they opt out also. And the Big Ten opts in, and the Pac-12 and the Mountain West opt back in. Well, what is it, like 2 weeks into the season, miraculously these teams are like, oh yeah, it's safe to play now. Yeah, San Diego State University, we're not going to have on-campus classes. It's not safe to do that. But yeah, football team, yeah, go out there and play Boise State.
Same thing for Arizona State University. They're having no in-person classes the entire year. That's fall and spring semester. But you know what? It's okay to play football, though, because it's football. It pisses me off because it pretty much put, I'm talking about the Power Five here, and more or less the Mountain West, because it kind of is the same thing. With the Big Ten making their decision to come back and play fall football, it pretty much forced the Pac-12's hand. What's the Pac-12 going to do? Oh, we're the only Power 5 conference that's not going to do this, even after a conference like the Big Ten said, yeah, we're not going to play. Oh, wait, yes, we are. It puts them in between a rock and a hard place, because if they say, you know what, we're going to stand our ground and we're just not going to play because we don't feel it's safe, then you have all these bullying conferences like the SEC and the Big Ten. Oh, look at the Pac-12. They're not playing. Like, how unfair is that to their players? Oh, we should let their players transfer to us for free. Or, oh, all you recruits out there who want to play at these schools like Oregon and USC, oh, don't go there. They're more concerned with health hazards, God forbid, right? So it made the Pac-12 look like jackasses. And even more so, you know, you can't just say, okay, we're going to have a football season, we're going to start next week. You got to say, okay, we're going to have a football season, but we need essentially a month to get schedules ready, get everything prepared, get our players up to speed as far as conditioning, practice, and everything. So it pretty much cuts out 3 games, which is exactly what it was for the Pac-12. They're going to play a 7-game season, and then if you don't make the conference championship game, the remaining 10 teams in the conference are going to play an 8th game against each other for God knows what reason. So I really feel bad for these student athletes, where it's like, you essentially have a 7-game season this year, and that's going to be a whole year of eligibility for you.
Yeah.
So I know this has been really screwy. We can't play in front of fans. The season's kind of gimmicky as it is. But, oh, hey, by the way, like, you senior, like, this is it for you. So I hope you enjoy this. It's just, I feel like that's very, very unfair. Koenig, what do you think?
I'm right there with you. I mean, my first thought, especially when you're talking about a condensed season like what the Pac-12 and the Mountain West are going with, my first thought is think of the seniors that have had such a tremendous influence on their programs. And I don't care who you're a fan of, whether you're an ASU fan, a U of A fan, a Washington Huskies fan, a Washington State, who cares? Regardless of who you're a fan of, I feel for the seniors on all of these programs who have had such an impact on their teams, and say, oh yeah, this is how you're going to go out as a senior. Not only are you not going to play a full season, you're not going to play in front of any fans either. You don't even have an opportunity to play in front of the fans that have supported you all these years. And yeah, we're taking that year of eligibility, so you can't even come back next year and play in front of fans. So my heart definitely goes out for those players. I know that it's probably not an easy thing for them, regardless of what they might say publicly. I think they'll all feel a little bit slighted in all of this, that they don't get to go out on their terms.
Yeah, and what's bullshit too is you're going to have these people out there that are going to say, well, these players aren't being forced to play. Like, if they wanted to, they could set up the season. Yes, okay, that is true. But what kid is going to go to their team and say, hey guys, I understand that you're all playing. I just don't want to play for my own personal reason. Like, no kid is going to do that. You would think that most of them would say, you know what? I play for my team. You guys are all playing. I'm playing too with you. So I'd be amazed if you really saw kids out there that were like, you know what, I don't feel safe, I'm not going to play. There were kids from the Big Ten that said, I'm not going to play, it's not safe. That as soon as they announced that the Big Ten season was coming back, they were all back in. Oh yeah, you know what, I'm not going to go to the NFL draft. I'm going to play in this season this year. So we'll see what happens. It's been screwy so far. I just don't even know how the timeline is going to match up, as far as if there's going to be bowl games, how the Final Four of the championship is going to play out, how that's going to work. That all remains to be seen. So we'll have more coverage on that here going forward. But moving right along, we want to go ahead and jump into everybody's favorite segment. We're going into the unknown.
And I am in charge of the unknown this week. In honor of our 10th episode, I wanted to do something a little bit special for
Oh,
my
Jesus.
co-host.
Geography.
Not geography. In honor of our 10th episode, I wanted to flash us back to our first ever unknown segment. This will be a Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader segment.
Oh, son of a bitch. Okay.
So Corbin got me the first go around on this, and I figured I would return the favor.
Oh, no. I'm going to look like an idiot.
Just like me, buddy. So what I have for Corbin today is I have 5 open answer questions that are of a 5th grade education or lower.
Oh, Jesus.
And I also have 5 true or false questions, and those are whatever. Those are any level. I have 10 questions here for you. Just like in the episode that you were in charge of, I would say that you need to get 6 of the 10 questions to win. And if you get 5 answers correct or less, you will owe a shot or a beer.
Okay, so I got to get 6 to be victorious. 5 or less, I'm screwed.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take that bet.
Excellent. Okay. Would you like me to give you them in any particular order? Would you like me to give you all open answer or all true and false and vice versa? Or how do you want me to do it?
So the true and false are the not 5th grade questions.
Correct.
Okay. I want you to give me, can you alternate? Can you give me a
Sure.
5th grade true and false, 5th grade true and false?
Yep, sure can.
Okay. All right. I like that.
All right. I'm going to give you an open-ended 5th grade question first. Are you ready?
God. Yeah.
Okay.
Geography.
This question is meant for a 5th grade education. An anemometer measures the speed of what?
I am so screwed. An anemometer?
Yes. Measures the speed of something. What is that something?
I got my hands up on my head so people don't think that I'm like looking this up.
Yeah, I got my eye on him over there.
I mean, I have a. I'm going to get this wrong because I really have no idea. I'm going to say the speed of sound is what an anemometer measures. That's my final answer.
Oh, that is incorrect.
Fucking hell.
An anemometer measures the speed of wind.
Yeah, I would have never known that.
I honestly didn't know that until I looked up that question. So,
Fucking hell.
all right, but you got 9 more questions, and the true or false, we'll see. Are you
Gotta
ready
go
for
2 for 3?
true or false question number 1?
Yes.
Okay. True or false? The Supreme Court of the United States is made up of 7 justices. Is that true or false?
That's false. There's 9 Supreme Court justices. That's my final answer. I know that one.
All right, very good. Corbin got that one spot on. So we'll give him the point for that one. The Supreme Court is made up of 9 justices.
Yeah.
All right. So you got 1 correct. You got 8 questions remaining. We are going to a short answer question. Are you ready?
Yes, and this is 5th grade or lower.
5th grade or lower. Okay.
Okay.
Which U.S. state is home to Grand Teton National Park?
That would be Wyoming, is where the Grand Tetons are. Wyoming, final answer.
Wyoming is correct.
Yeah. I've been there. I don't know if it's within Yellowstone or right next to Yellowstone, but I've been to the Grand Tetons, so I've been there, done that.
There you go. You got 2 out of the first 3, so you're doing really good so far. Are you ready for true or false number 2?
Yes, sir.
Okay, true or false? Other than water, the most consumed beverage in the world is coffee. Is that true or false?
Damn, that's a good question. Other than water, so the only other options that I can think of are tea, which isn't particularly big in the United States, but elsewhere it's very big, and milk, just because there's so many varieties of milk. So it's water, but coffee, fuck, dude. I mean, coffee. Damn, that's a good. And oh Jesus, but like I don't really know. But there could be beer. I don't know, man. Just people drink a lot of beer.
Maybe.
Damn. That's a tough question. There's a lot of people that don't drink coffee. I don't drink coffee. I'm not a big coffee drinker. Not that I don't dislike the taste, but there's a lot of people who don't drink caffeine. But then also that would discredit the tea argument. Son of a bitch. Damn, this is a hard question. Okay, so just to make sure I understand this correctly, other than water, coffee is the most consumed beverage in the world.
Correct. Is that true or is that false?
I'm going to say that's true. Final answer.
Oh, that is incorrect.
Oh, what was it?
It was tea.
Damn it!
You sniffed it out though.
Fuck, that was my first instinct too. Was like, oh no, tea is a big drink in the world. Damn it!
Yeah, I thought you had sniffed it out there for a second, but you're still. I mean, you're still doing okay. You got 2 out of 4, so we'll go.
I'm on pace to not get this.
Yeah, we'll go to another geography question and make you feel a little bit better.
Damn!
A 5th grade education open answer question. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Budapest is the capital of which European country? Budapest. The capital of which European country?
I think it's Hungary. Hungary is my final answer.
Hungary is correct.
Yes. I don't know why. For some reason, I was thinking Turkey, but that's Istanbul. I think is in Turkey. I think
something like that.
But Budapest. I remember watching the movie, the Grand Budapest Hotel, and they make reference to Hungary. So I was like, that has to be right.
That's quite the connection. I would have never made that connection. Okay, so you got 3 out of 5 so far. So you're pretty much right on pace to win.
I need to get 3 of these next 5, though.
That's right. Okay.
Oh, shit. That T one, that's going to haunt me. Oh,
I hope not. Okay. Are you ready for your next true or false question?
Yes, sir.
True or false? The flag of the European Union has exactly 10 stars.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Is that true or false?
Oh, that's a good question. As soon as you said the flag of the European Union, the first thing that popped in my mind was, how many fucking stars are on that thing? Oh, no. Because it's just a circle of stars, right? I mean, you could tell me that. I don't really know how many fucking stars. When you read that question, see, I don't know if the number of stars represents the number of nations, because if so, then that would not be correct. There's more than 10, I think. But what else would it represent, right? Like, I think, wait, no, actually, no, sorry. Read that again, sorry.
True or false? The flag of the European Union has 10 stars.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that you didn't say the never mind. I'm like way in my head now. I don't think it's 10. I think it's 11. I think it's more. So I'm going to say false. I don't think it's 10.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
It is false.
Yes. How many are there?
11, but it is 12. 12 is the number of stars on the European Union flag.
Is that for every country that's within the EU?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I knew 10 was too little.
Yeah.
But okay. All right.
Yeah, you got 4 right and 2 wrong, it looks like.
4 out of 6. Okay, so I got to go 2 for 4. All
right. I'm going to All right. So, are you ready for your next question?
Oh yeah. The fucking tea, man. I would have 5 of 6 right now, if not for the tea.
Okay, this is an open-ended question meant for a 4th grade level.
God, I didn't pay any attention in 4th grade because of Sherry Gittleson. What?
Okay. What ancient civilization built the Machu Picchu complex of Peru?
Oh, shit. It's not the Mayans. I think it's the Incans. Inca. Hold on. Damn, I should know this because I watched a lot of documentaries on Machu Picchu in Peru. I don't think it's the Mayans. I think it's the Incas. Yeah, so it's open-ended, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that. So you said what group of people?
Yeah, what ancient civilization built the Machu Picchu?
Yeah, the Incas. That's my final answer.
The Incas is correct.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, boy.
You're doing very well. You've got 5 out of 7 so far. You just got to get 1 out of the next 3, and 2 of those questions are true or false. It's not looking good for me.
The open-ended ones are a little bit easier for me because the true or false ones, I flip-flop. I second-guess myself.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I got to get 1 of the next 3.
Okay, are you ready for your next true or false question?
Yes.
True or false? 25% of the bones in the human body are in your feet. Is that true or false?
Now, that's like a hard number, or it's like 25% is like the exact percentage?
It's like,
or are you gonna?
It's like 25.1%. I rounded down like a little.
Oh, okay, so you're not gonna like dick me and go,
No.
false. It's 26%. Okay.
No. 25% of the bones in the human body are found in the feet. Is that true or false?
So, question.
Yes.
Because I kind of think that it's higher. If it were higher, so say it was like 30%, technically 25% of that 30% is in your feet. Or
No.
Okay, 25% of your bones are in your feet. I know that there's a lot of bones in your feet. I'm going to say it's true. Final answer.
It is true.
Yeah.
It's 206 bones in the human body. 52 of those bones are in your feet.
Hell yeah.
So,
all right.
Corbin's got the job done, but we'll do these last 2 just to see how many he can get right.
The T didn't come back to haunt me. I knew that T answer. I'm still kicking myself about the T.
Yeah. Okay, this next question is an open-ended question. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Which river forms the border between the state of Texas and Mexico?
Ooh, which river? That's a good question. Between Texas and Mexico or New Mexico?
Which river forms the border between the state of Texas and the country of Mexico?
I really don't know the answer. I know it's not the Colorado. I'm just trying to think of like rivers because
I'll be honest, I didn't know this until I saw the answer, and then I knew it right away. It was like oh duh.
I'm sure it's probably pretty obvious. There's 2 that are popping into my head, and I don't know how or why. The Rio Grande is popping into my head, and then also the Verde River are popping into my head. I don't think any of those are true. I really don't know the answer. I'm going to say the Rio Grande. Final answer.
The Rio Grande is correct.
Oh, shit!
Wow.
Well, that was... So I'm just trying to think of rivers, just Arizona, New Mexico, like that southwest area that go from, whatever, northwest down to southeast. And I was just like, okay, well, the only one's large enough to be that long would be like the Rio Grande. So that was a complete shot in the dark. It was an educated guess, but hey, I'll take it.
Hey, you had that 5th grade educated guess going for you, so good job. Okay, so you've got 7 out of 9. This last question will give you the opportunity to get 8, which would be very impressive. Are you ready? Your last true or false? Okay. True or false? Los Angeles is the most populated city in the United States.
False. Final answer. New York City.
Yeah.
Woo, 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 woo. He is going to the cupboard. This is no shock here because we sealed this one up a while ago, but 8 out of 10. I'm still kicking myself about the T because I knew that answer.
All
Don't
right.
second guess yourself, people. When you think you know something, just go with it, because that's how you get stuff wrong.
When life
But
gives you lemons, just say fuck the lemons and bail.
that last question was really easy, especially for somebody who's a big New York supporter.
Yeah.
Like, but it's
Hindsight's
still a good question. I
hindsight's
mean,
2020. Some of those I was surprised you got as easily as you did. Had it not been for the T question, you easily could have gotten 9, which would have been really good.
what was the first one that I missed? The anemometer.
Anemometer.
Yeah, anything scientific, whew, way
Uh,
over my head.
I'll keep that in mind for next time.
This
But
week's episode is all scientific shit.
but hey, credit to you. You only had to get 6. You got 8, which is really good. So I've got a shot here of my Jameson Caskmates Irish whiskey, and I'll do this shot real quick, and then we'll give our review of our beverage tonight.
Sounds good. Down the hatch. Oof, that looked like a really heavy shot.
It was.
He's really going the extra mile for the fans out there.
Yeah, I made it a double just for you guys at home. So, before we end the show tonight, we do like to give our official rating of the beers that we had tonight. I finished off 3 of these. The Fremont Golden Pilsner, and like Corbin said, maybe if you're not in Seattle, you might never find this unless you're like at Bevmo and they happen to find it along with the other Pilsners. It was interesting. Pilsner, not really my go-to. It kind of has kind of a pungent after flavor, almost like an IPA. And anybody who knows me knows I hate IPAs. So for a Pilsner, this aftertaste is a little bit off-putting, but still not terrible. I'm going to give it a 2.3 out of 5.
Ooh. Okay. So I've got Pabst Blue Ribbon over here. Now I'm going to give my grade based on the tier of beer. Like, you don't go to the store and go, oh, like I'm really looking for like a really ritzy beer. I'm going to grab some Pabst Blue Ribbon, right? Like, no, you buy Pabst Blue Ribbon because it's cheap, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna give my ranking based on cheap beers. So this is like the Coors Lights, the Miller Lights, the Bud Lights of the world. I actually think that Pabst is, for a cheap beer, is pretty decent. It's not something that I would want to drink like a ton of excess of. I mean, I have before for sure, but I would give it a 3.5 as far as the cheap beer scale goes. It's higher up there. It's not the best, but it certainly is nowhere near the worst. If you're looking for something cheap that'll get you drunk, I would grab for that Pabst Blue Ribbon.
I definitely don't disagree. I mean, Pabst, if I had to rate it as someone who's had it also, I'd even probably pump it up a little bit closer to 4, maybe like in the 3.8, 3.9 range. When you're talking about light beers especially, I think it is probably the best of the light beers. If you had to make me pick one, I would definitely pick Pabst over like Miller Lite or Bud Light or Coors Light. So there you have it. There's our rating for the beers tonight. That does conclude our 10th episode, 10 whole episodes. What more can we say? We're having a whole lot of fun doing this. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I know that we're enjoying it. Stay tuned for future episodes. On next week's show, we will have MLB. We haven't talked about MLB in weeks. It's a fucking miracle. But we haven't had any Major League Baseball. That season is wrapping up this weekend, so we'll be able to preview the postseason for you. We'll have the wrap-up of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll be done with the NHL for a while, so that'll be kind of sad. We'll have week 3 of the NFL. We'll have a preview of the NBA Finals, and of course, we'll have the English Premier League, Sheffield United's 3rd game against Leeds at 4 a.m. on Sunday. So we'll see how that goes. If you enjoyed it, if you're listening to us on YouTube, go ahead and like the video. It helps us out a whole lot. Subscribe to the channel. We do have exclusive content coming to the channel very soon, so you do want to subscribe so you don't miss out on that content. If you're on Spotify, go ahead and follow the channel so you don't miss any time that we upload a new show for you guys. If you have any ideas for future episodes of the show, you can email those to slightlysidewayspod@gmail.com. While you're at it on the social media sphere, go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Slightly Sideway and on Facebook at Slightly Sideways Podcast. I've been Koenig, your host, joined as always by my good friend and co-host Corbin. Say goodnight to the people, Corbin.
To all my Swedes out there, good morning, and I hope you have a great day.
Good night, everyone.